Welcome to edusati.com, your partner in education. In this lecture, we'll discuss the concept of skimming and scanning the reading comprehension. Skimming and scanning techniques would really help you to save a lot of time in solving the reading comprehensions. Now, whenever we are appearing in any sort of competitive examination, the biggest mar that we have is that we do not have a lot much of time, and the time that uh, we have to solve all the given sections, including English, including maths, including reasoning, general awareness, or anything that's being asked in the examination. So it becomes very tricky for us to select the type of questions and then answer them. Skimming technique would help you to basically save a lot of time in solving the reading comprehension part. Now, we all know that reading comprehension has ever taken a lot much of time in the entire span of the examination. Whenever in the junior classes we appeared in the English examinations and we had reading comprehensions there, we had to read the entire passage before attempting the questions. But if we start doing it in the competitive examination, it will have a lot much of time wastage. Skimming and scanning techniques would help you to reduce that time. Uh, we're going to discuss how we can directly answer these specific detailed questions without even reading the entire passage. So you just locate where is the answer, read that very line and answer accordingly. So this would help you in saving a lot much of time related to the questions on reading comprehension. Now we start with the discussion of skimming of the paragraph. We all know what exactly skimming means. Skimming, in the general senses, is very rigorous shaking of something so as to extract a byproduct. We generally skim the milk to get the cream out of it. So skimming is when you rigorously shake. And when I say that we are skimming the paragraph, we basically mean that you rapidly move your eyes over the written text to find the relevant information that is written in the paragraph. Now, by what I mean is that we generally tend to read what is required to be read and we leave whatever is unnecessarily written. Now, instead of reading the entire paragraph, we'll just skim it. We'll get to know what exactly is happening in the paragraph, and then we'll start answering the questions based on whatever we've understood. Now, by this, I do not mean that directly start solving the questions. That is, you just do not even pay any sort of attention to what is written. You just read the question and then start looking where is the answer, where is the answer. That will definitely land you in a very thick soup because you'll not find the answers correct any which way. By this I mean is that you can just read the passage in a flow and decide what information is given where. Now, there's a very proper methodology that we follow while skimming the paragraph, which is written in this flowchart. Skimming the paragraph involves, first of all, rapidly moving your eyes over the paragraph to spot the keywords. Now, by keywords, I mean what are the main players of this paragraph. Keywords are the nouns, the proper nouns that are being talked about in the paragraph. Obviously, any sort of paragraph, say to be any style of writing, argumentative or philosophical or narrative or anything, any which way the paragraph is written, we have some or the other people that we are discussing in the paragraph. So spot those very names, and then there are dates, there are major processes that are discussing. Now you may get a paragraph that is based on that is discussing what is a process of doing something. Say, what is the process of making a cake? So you you just need to underline and look for the words that are the verbs which this process follow. So you take the flour, you add eggs, you add the sweetener, you mix them. You just reading, take flour, take eggs, mix, bake, take out, do icing. And you've read only these things. You've left the entire other things. We first take the floor. No, I've not read we first and the. I just leave them. I just read take floor. So this is what I do. I find out the relevant information that is taken floor from the given big sentence, and I leave the entire other information that is written. That is we first and the we. I've not read those things, so I'm just reading what is required to be read. And when I've done that, I know what information is written and where in this paragraph. And now, when I read the questions, I'll be able to locate the answer very, very clearly. Right now, how do we do it with a bigger text? We first of all rapidly move our eyes over the given paragraph to find out where are the keywords. And then we read the introduction paragraph completely so as we get to know what exactly is happening in this paragraph. Now, sometimes we tend to start answering the questions just reading the first paragraph. Now, do not do that. I'm saying that you first read the paragraph, the introduction paragraph, and then decide upon what exactly is happening in this paragraph. And when you have done that, skim the other paragraphs of this big text. You'll get to know what information is passed where, and you'll also get to know what exactly is happening in the paragraph. We all remember that when we used to write essays in our junior classes, or whenever we write essays these days as well, the introduction paragraph is just an insight to what exactly is happening in the paragraph, right? For example, you get a paragraph on the effects of different type of pollutions on the human beings. Now, the first paragraph would obviously discuss what are the different types of prevalent pollutions, and it will then in the subsequent paragraphs we're going to discuss each type of pollution and then the effects that it has. Now, if we do not read the next paragraphs, we'll not be able to judge which paragraph. Say paragraph 2 talks about noise pollution, paragraph 3 talks about water pollution, and the introduction paragraph we're just discussing, we have water pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, and a little much more information. So if I've just read the first paragraph, I'll think this whole paragraph, this passage is just discussing the types of pollution. But the subsequent paragraphs are basically discussing the effects of the pollutions and the different type of pollution. So I need to skim each paragraph so as I get to know where is the uh, information related to a very, very particular type of. For example, you've got a question based on noise pollution. What is the effect of noise pollution on the humans? So you'll get to know that while I was skimming the paragraph, I read the noise pollution thing in the paragraph number 3. So my answer is related to paragraph number 3. So this will save a lot much of time. You need not to hunt the entire passage. You just know where is this information passed. Now dip into the keywords and use regression to make sense. Now as we discussed the example, and we said that we have taken the relevant information, just the keywords. Uh, let's go back to the example of making the cake, the process of making the cake. So I've just taken up the keywords: take flour, take eggs, mix, bake, ice. This is what I read. Now I'll apply a little of my knowledge and I'll frame some words. Now first of all, we might have taken the flour. Now this is what I have thought of in my mind. Then we added some eggs. Now I don't know how many eggs they might be mentioned in the passage, but I know that there's eggs being mentioned in the passage. So I've added some eggs. Then I've done this, that. Now I have used my knowledge of basic English to finalize the context and the text, right? So that is to finalize the understanding of my text, right? And lastly, we'll read the final passage completely so as we know where does the passage ends. It might be that the passage ends only on the discussion of uh, the effects of the pollution. It might not be discussing the uh, that how do we deal with these pollutions, right? Supposingly there's a passage, the first paragraph is introduction, second, third, fourth, fifth, we're just discussing the effects, and there is no paragraph, there's no conclusion about how do we deal with these. And therein we also get a question that how can we deal with noise pollution. Now, if we have not read the final passage, we'll obviously tend to answer that according to this paragraph, according to our reading, we can deal with noise pollution in so and so ways. But it is not discussed in the paragraph, so we cannot answer this question. There is no data provided to you based on this question, right? So you need to understand that we need to read the first and the last paragraph completely, and we can skim the other text, right? Now we'll discuss how do we skim the passages. You just need to extract the important information about a passage without reading the other information. Now, by important information, as I said, we mean that we need to find where are the nouns, what are the verbs, the dates, and the processes. This will help you to justify where is which uh, information written, one, and secondly, you'll get to know what is the information all about, right? So the nouns will help you to let yourself know that who are the major players in this paragraph. Verbs will, what is it discussing about? Is it something related to past, or is it something related to future? Dates will help you to find out the answers to the specific detailed questions. And the processes, have you just done the example of baking the cake? So this way you'll be able to locate what exactly is being talked about in the paragraph. Now, look for these sort of keywords and then use your regression analysis to make a story in your own head, which would be more or less equal to what exactly is stated in the passage. Uh, while skimming, read the first and the last line of each paragraph. If you are short of time, you can do that, and you'll get to know where is the information written, right? And then you can apply the scanning techniques as well. As I said, skim the words like nouns and verbs and do not go deep into the information. Now, what I mean is, like, supposingly this is a graph and this is your reading, so it depicts how are you reading. So you're reading like this, right? So whenever you encounter some noun, you place it here. So you know what is the noun. If there's a date, you place it here. It's not a specific uh, type of a graph that you need to follow, nothing like that. It's just a way in which you should read. And the other articles and other such things which are not required, the terminals, etc., you do not read them, you just look over them, and wherever you encounter something that is relevant, some date, some process, some noun again, so you just keep a check on those things and leave the others. So this is your reading pattern while you are reading a text, while you are skimming a text, right? Leave the words like prepositions and articles. You obviously know where to use on, where to use at. This is what something you know, so you need not to read and waste your time there, right? So you're just reading what is required. You're reading only nouns, pronouns, and you're reading about the dates, and you're looking for the dates, nouns, what is happening where. You're making your own story, which is equal to, which is totally in sync with what exactly is happening in the paragraph. Now let's take an example to skim the passage related to some of the other information. So for example, this is a big paragraph given to you and I'm not reading this paragraph at all. And I need to skim the paragraph to look for the words that are more or less equal to the engineer. So this is the question. There's a question that's asked to you that asks you to find out the words that are related to engineering. What do I do? I'll start moving my eyes over this paragraph and I'll not read it. I just move my eyes wildly. I just go here and there and here and there. Like the way I'm moving my pointer, I'll just start moving my eyes in this very span, right? And when I'm doing that, I'll look for the words that are related to engineering. Now, when I'm doing this, I come across this word, say ambitious projects. So projects is related to engineering? Yes. Then here I find bridge building. Likewise, I find shipping. They are related to engineering. Railway construction, it's related to engineering. Then I move industrial revolution. Yes. Construction, it is related. Engineers is related. Yeah. Any other thing that relates to force is related, but I don't think so. It's driving force, so I'll relieve this, right? So that's it. These are the words that I have not read, but I can find these words related to engineering, right? So after skimming, I make a graph, right, in my mind, and I come across these words which were related to engineering. So I underline construction, industrial revolution, bridge, railway, Brunel. These all words are related to engineering. That I found while just looking over the paragraph, and the other words which I did not read even were not related to engineering, so I did not read them. So this is the way I carry the skimming of the text. I just skimmed the words which were of my concern. I just skimmed or hunted for the words that were of my concern. My concern was to find the words that are related to engineering. So I just moved across the passage. I was just wildly moving my eyes over the passage to find out whatever is related to engineering. Now, how do I know that I need to look for engineering? This is because now this was a very small example. Supposingly, this is a big paragraph that is given to you, and the first paragraph is talking about engineering. And since you've read the entire passage, the first paragraph, right? So obviously, it's a big passage. There would be a para one, right? There would be a para one. Para one would be the introduction, and then there would be the subsequent paragraphs. So para 2, para 3, para 4, etc. Right? So when I've read the paragraph 1, I know what exactly is going to be spoken about in this entire passage. And that passage tells me that this entire passage is discussing engineering. Now I know that my major player in this whole passage is engineering. So in the next paragraphs, I carry on the technique of skimming to find out all those words that are related to engineering. So these were the words that I encountered in paragraph number 2, which I have underlined, and I have made a small story in my mind that this passage is talking about railway construction and industrial revolution. Why? Because these are the words that are spoken about in this paragraph. Then I move to another paragraph, do the same thing. Right. So in this way, I skim the relevant information and keep it with myself. And then I move to the questions and start answering the questions. Let's discuss it how it helps. Now, supposingly, now there is a question that asks you to answer something related to industrial evolution. Since I've skimmed this passage, I know where is this industrial revolution written. Okay, it was paragraph number 2. I moved to paragraph number 2. I hunted for the word. I'll now know exactly where is the word it's written here. There was this question. What was the question? Let it be anything. I just read the line where, which talks about industrial evolution. Okay, it says in hundreds of years, the work of small groups and construction engineers carried forward the enormous social economic change that we associate with industrial revolution in Britain. And now this is the line. Okay, what was the question? This was the question. Is it related? Yes or no? Now I know the answer. I'll answer it directly. For example, from your understanding of the given passage, if we can conclude that Brunel was less involved in railway construction than any other engineering field. Now, this is the question that's presented, that they want to know that whether Brunel was less involved in railway construction. Now, I choose my two keywords as Brunel because this is some person being talked about and there's a railway construction. I hunt for my information here, right? I I'll start finding. I'll move my eyes over this entire passage in any pattern. Say it be like right to left or left to right or up down or in zigzag manner. Anyway, and I look for the words where it's written Brunel and railway construction. I come here, I encounter railway construction. Here it's Kingdom Brunel. This line has the answer. Now I just read this line. The most important of these engineers was Ismbard Kingdom Brunel, whose work in shipping, bridge construction, and railway construction, to name just three fields, both challenged and motivated its colleagues. This is the line which mentions both of these things together. After reading, I do not come across anything like whether he was less involved or more involved, so I'll treat it as a false conclusion. And then I check my answer. He was equally involved, so it is a false conclusion, right? So I did not read the paragraph, I just looked for the keywords, made a small story in my mind. The story was that I read this passage, this paragraph, right? This line, sorry, was both challenged and motivated his colleagues. So there's no mention of being more or less, so this is a false conclusion. Let's take another example. Again, this is the paragraph, I'm not reading it, and question is, can we conclude that Brunel became an apprentice with his father at the same age of others? Now here, the major keywords, the major nouns are Brunel, father, apprentice. I look for these three words in this entire passage. I move my eyes over this passage in this paragraph and I look for the words wherever it is written, right? Here it is, Brunel, apprenticed, father. So this line has the answer. The son of an engineer, Brunel apprenticed his father at the early age on the building of Thomas Tunnel. At this age of just 20, he became engineer in the charge of project. Now, in these two lines, I do not find something like less or more, like was he young or was he old, nothing like that. I'm not reading the other passage. I've just read these two lines, no mention. So according to me, this is a false conclusion. Let's check. Now I've skimmed the passage. At the age of 20, apprenticed his father at an early age. There is no comparison. This is what we said. We've just discussed that there is no comparison. Since there is no comparison, so it is a false conclusion. So you can see that I've skimmed the passage, choosing my words. I just read those words, find them, and then answer. And the answer is correct, right? Let's take another example. Uh, Here, now let us decide upon uh, that what should be the choice of the words that we're looking for, right? So what we do is, uh, in the given text, try and find out the word where Sahel and deforestation is written, right? Pause this video for a second and then look for the words Sahel and deforestation. Now, after I do that, I find Sahel here and deforestation here. Which word were you comfortable in finding? Now, most of us would say Sahel was more easily found than deforestation in this entire messy thing that is written. Can we think of why? The reason is that Sahel is a proper noun, and we know that proper nouns start with a capital letter, whereas deforestation is a common noun and it starts with a small letter. Thus, Sahel was easily located. Why? Because it stands out. It Wherever it comes in the sentence, whether in the beginning or in the center or at the end, it will always start with a capital letter. And since it starts with a capital letter, there is no point that we will not be able to locate it. Thus, we choose the words that are more that we can easily find by the method that we look for those words that are more easy to find. That is what I meant. This means that I look for proper nouns, I look for numbers, I look for the process names rather than the other words. So if there's a question that asks that has two keywords, Sahel and deforestation, rather than looking for deforestation in this passage, I'll look for Sahel. Why? Because it'll always start with a capital S, right? And it'll be more easy and convenient for me to find Sahel. Wherever it will be written, it will be starting with a capital S, and in a sentence case, all the words start with a smaller letter. So the word that starts with a capital S would be striking out, and it'll be more easily seen. So I'll look for those sort of words which are more easily seen. Now let's discuss scanning. Now scanning is that after you've skimmed the text, you come across the questions. You read the questions and then you start looking for the answers. Now skimming helped us to understand where is the answer located, right? And now scanning will help us in finding out what is the answer, right? Scanning is when you scan a piece of text, you look over it to find out one word or phrase, not to understand the whole text. You just need to answer the question, and you need not to read this passage again. You just scanning where is the information passed. Wherever it is passed, you'll just answer it there. So for example, you're given a question. This is what we do while scanning. So you're given the question, you keep in mind what are you looking for. Now while I was skimming, I was looking for the engineers. There was this question: was he less involved or more involved? I was looking for engineers. Now, after skimming, I know where is it talked about. Okay, it's talked about in that paragraph. I move on to that and know what am I looking for. Now I am anticipating the answer according to my skimming knowledge. That while I was reading, it was not mentioned more or less. But let's see where is the answer. Now I go there, run my eyes over the passage again in any pattern, and wherever I find those things, I relate them, read the line, and then answer. This is what we did while we were answering, right? For example, just what do we do? We just run over our eyes over the entire passage without even reading it. We just locating where is that thing written, right? So, for example, this is a big passage that's given to you, and he asks you to find out a word that starts with O and means cover. Pause this video and try it. I'm not reading whatever is written in this passage, right? I'm not reading it at all. I'll just move my eyes and find out the word that starts with O. Now my work decreases here. I just need to look at the first letters, and wherever I find out an O, I'll underline that word. So or has O, occupy has O, off has O, nothing else has O, right? So out of these words, only occupy is the one that means cover. Occupies or covers. While scanning, I come across occupy and the answer becomes occupy, right? So I have just scanned the text for a very relevant information. It started with O, so I took up O, read the moved my eyes here and there, find out a word that started with O, and answered the question. Let's take another example. In this passage, we have to find out where is the word that starts with T and means happening. Do it yourself. Move your eyes here, there, and try and find out where is the word starts with T and it uh, means happening. So I'll move the hair there, there. The starts with T. Takings 20 starts with T. Taking starts with T. And here taking place or happening. They mean same. So the answer to this question is taking. Because why? Because taking means happening. Let's take another example. In this passage, find out the word that starts with S and means limited. Now, again, pause this video and try and answer the question. Right now, I'll scan this passage for the words that start with S. Scarce, soil, soil. These start with S, but scarce means less or limited. So the answer becomes scarce, right? So scarce is the answer. Let's take another example. Now, find out the meaning of the word Sahel. Now, this is a question, right? Uh, till now, we were discussing how to scan. Now, this is what happens. You'll be given this paragraph, and they'll be asking you a proper question. Now, supposingly there's this paragraph, and they have given you this question. Find out the meaning according to the passage. What is the meaning of the word Sahel? Right. Now, I'm not looking for a word that starts with S. I'm looking for Sahel itself. I'll look for Sahel. Here it is. I'll start reading this. I'll just move over this entire passage, and I'll try and find out what does it mean. So wherever Sahel is written, I'll just mark those words. So here is Sahel. So the word Sahel comes from Arabic, means, again, means and Sahel. They are somewhat related, marginal or transitional. So my answer should be marginal or transitional. Let's check. Yes, it starts with a capital S because it's a proper noun, and it comes from marginal Arabic, which means marginal transitional. So my answer would be marginal or transitional. Well, this gets us to the end of the discussion of skimming and scanning. I hope you've understood how do we skim and scan the passage, and how do we carry out the entire process to find out the specific detail questions, right? So whenever you're given a question, just locate the keywords, read that very little information, and then you can directly answer the question. If there are any doubts, you can go back to the video and redo it so as you get a better understanding. And practice more and more questions of specific details in the reading comprehension. They'll help you. Do not read the passage, try and skim and scan. Do not read the entire passage, just skim and scan, right? uh, Thank you and have a nice day.